What's going on, everybody? This is Nick. This is Sports Guy on the mic. So, before the fantasy football season starts, I just wanted to talk to you guys about some of the biggest NFL storylines that I'll be watching out for this season. These would be some of the players, some of the teams, and the questions that I think could shape the 2026 NFL season. One topic I really want to get into today, guys, is which I'm really curious to see what's going to happen this year is which young QB breaks out this year. So, as you guys know, there's a bunch of young quarterbacks in the NFL that got drafted last year and had the opportunity to play last year. So, I think, um, some of these guys are going to end up having to break out, really kind of show their teams that they give the teams that they're playing on a reason to believe in them and to really buy into them and make them the franchise quarterback. Um, so I came up with three quarterbacks that I wanted to highlight on this topic, and the first one I'm going to talk about is Cam Ward. So this is year two for Cam Ward. I think he showed flashes of greatness last year. I think living in the Nashville area, there's some mixed opinions about Cam Ward, and you know, is he really the right guy or is he not the right guy? So I think that last year when I watched him play, I think that he did show the signs of that he could be that franchise quarterback to me. I think that he was dealing with a lot of pressure from the offensive line not being where they needed to be. I don't think he had a whole lot of I don't think he had a whole lot of help on the outside as far as receivers. I think that he could really benefit from this new receiver that they drafted this year, giving him some help, and maybe the offensive line can be a little bit better than he had last year, and give the guy a little bit of opportunity to show what he can be. Um, I think that he was really good at Miami in college, and I kind of liked him there in the way he played, and so I was kind of excited about him being drafted to Nashville and seeing what he could do. But I would love to see what he will do in year two, and can he be that breakout player that the Titans need him to be, and to take them to be competitive for years to come. So hopefully the new offense, the new coaching staff that's coming in, and everybody that's coming into the hopefully everybody that's coming onto the team this year benefit and give the Titans a little bit of opportunity to be better. I do think that again the addition with Carnell Tate, giving them another weapon on the outside and giving him someone he can grow with, and um, also I think they added a few pieces on the offensive line that can add to their success. But yeah, the biggest thing is like these quarterbacks in year two, are they able to show signs of the game slowing down and show signs of them progressing and getting better? So um, I think his development over the summer is big, and hopefully he's not constantly running for his life this season. And if everything clicks, man, I do believe that Cam Ward can become one of those stars in the league and be the franchise quarterback for the Titans. So he's one of the guys that I'm looking at to have one of those breakout years. The second quarterback I'm going to talk about for a breakout season is Jaden Daniels. The biggest thing to me is, can he get back to the level he was playing at last year? The guy was having a great season last year. I feel like every time I was seeing highlights of him, he was doing something spectacular, just like he was doing at LSU when he was back there. So he seemed like he translated well to the NFL, and I think that if he can continue to get healthy, and I know he had a pretty brutal injury last season, and if he can get himself back and his confidence back, and even get close to where he was at last season, and then be able to level up from there. I think if he can continue to grow and take things to another level, he could be one of the stars in the league and have a breakout year. just he's a nightmare for the defenses that he plays against. And you know, the biggest question to me is, again, can he get on the other side of the injury and improve in his passing? But I think the kid's ceiling is pretty high, man, and he could be one of those guys that will be fun to watch and see how he develops and see where he can take his team at next year. So that'll be fun to watch and see what he can do. The last quarterback I'm going to talk about is Jackson Dart. You know, was it real last year, or was that kind of a fake showing? He came in. I think he came in and took over. And honestly, man, he really elevated the level of the Giants last year when he got in there, and he made do with the talent around him, and he was playing pretty well, man. There were some injuries last year on that team that kind of held him back a little bit from I think achieving what he really wanted to do last year. But now that teams have a whole year of game film on him, I would love to see if he's able to continue to make plays and elevate his game and take advantage of some opportunities that he has. So was that just a hot streak, or did the Giants find them a young franchise quarterback, is what I want to know. So that'd be another guy that I'm looking at to see if he's going to have a breakout year, and if that was real is what my question is for Jackson Dart. But yeah, so those are some of my quarterback watches, young quarterback watches, and I'll continue to watch those guys and see how they develop and what they can do in 2026. So those would be my three guys that I'll be watching out for this year. All right, so next topic, guys. I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite fantasy offenses for the year coming up. These are offenses that I'm thinking that if you strictly drafted your fantasy football team off of these offenses, like who would give you the best chance of drafting some elite players at almost every position? So I came up with a few teams and kind of settled down on the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm going to give you why I love Baltimore, man. I think it all starts with Lamar Jackson. The guy just gives you an advantage that nobody else does in the league. To me, he is a playmaker. He is elite with the ball. He's just really just fun to watch, man. I like Lamar. I think that he is super athletic. He has a very strong arm, elusive in the pocket. When he gets outside of the pocket, he ends up getting down the field very quickly and making plays with his feet. I don't think he gets enough credit for the job he does with throwing the football down the field. I think that he actually has pretty good accuracy, and it just gives his team a lot of advantage at the quarterback position. So it all starts with Lamar Jackson for me. So that's one. And then obviously Derrick Henry still gives up, as a game changer. When he gets in the open field, he's like a home run hitter. He can get up the field and score touchdowns. Obviously, he gives you a volume running back that can carry the ball 20 to 30 times a game. Very difficult to tackle towards the end of the game. And Derrick Henry is just still that guy. Even though he's getting on up there in age and wear and tear is starting to get to him a little bit, but I think that he still is an elite running back to me. And then you got the tight end position with Mark Andrews. I think he's still a proven weapon. So you got value there at the tight end position. And then the receivers are very young, a lot of talent there. Zay Flowers, got some other young receivers out there that are explosive. So they got players all over the field. And so to me, if you were drafting a team for your fantasy football team, uh, you know, looking at the Baltimore offense is one that you can get value pretty much anywhere you look at it. So, uh, a lot of teams kind of came to my mind right here. You know, but Baltimore is one that I stuck with and just kept coming back to me. But concerns that I have for Baltimore is the coaching changes. They're bringing in a new offensive leadership. There is still talent there, obviously, but with that new system, can people maximize in it and get everyone involved? You really don't know what you're getting yet, so you got to watch and see. Um, but will they continue to play fast and aggressive? And will Lamar Jackson still have freedom? I think with his freedom frees up everyone else to kind of like make plays because you got to focus in so much time and energy on Lamar Jackson. So I feel like that's why everybody else eats like that. So, um, those would be things to watch. Is that how that coaching staff comes in and takes that team over, and how they get everyone involved. So, but again, so that's who I ended up sticking with. Now, guys, there's a lot of other teams out there, man, that you can go with here. The Detroit Lions is another team out there that has tons of playmakers all over the field, receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, really good. But the reason why I keep coming back to Baltimore is, I like running quarterbacks, especially when we're talking about fantasy value. They give you so much more ability to score points because with the ability to run. So that's hard for me to ignore. And so I'm always trending towards that quarterback that can run a little bit. So that's just me. All right, so we just gave you guys my favorite fantasy offense out there if you want to draft a team off of fantasy value. And now I'm going to give you guys my sleeper team out there, a team that you could draft off of and get a lot of value with your draft picks. So I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans on that. Now, again, before you guys go crazy on me, this is not a team I'm picking to be a Super Bowl winner or anything like that. This is a team again that I think has value on that team to draft players and give you value at the fantasy from a fantasy perspective. So, with a little bit what I was talking about earlier, Cam Ward is where I'm going to start with. I think the guy is talented, and I think he might surprise some people this year with his development and how he performs. So you're getting, especially in these dynasty leagues, you're getting a young quarterback that gives you a lot of upside. So if he can break out, he can give you a lot of fantasy points right there. And then they also got a receiver they drafted, Cornell Tate. I think that he can really become a legitimate wide receiver one. So we'll kind of have to watch him and see like what, how fast he comes out and how ready he looks early on in his career. But if he plays the way I think he can, then I think that you got a good player right there in a wide receiver one. And then they got some other guys on the outside that they brought in that can get some fantasy value. I think that if those guys, if Cornell Tate does what he's supposed to do, that can free up some opportunities for those guys to really get going. And you got Tony Pollard at the running back position as well as some talent they brought in to help out that backfield. The key thing to me again for the Titans is can the offensive line hold up enough to give those guys chances to really make plays. So again, the important point I'm saying right here, and I'm going to say it again, is I'm not saying the Tennessee Titans are going to win the Super Bowl. They just there just might be some fantasy value there that you can catch before someone else does. So that's all I'm saying. So another honorable mention right there for one of my teams to watch out for fantasy value is the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, that's just a no-brainer. You got Patrick Mahomes and a bunch of young players that can step up around him. They're just a safe pick on offense that you can always go to, and you can draft from that team and get a whole bunch of value from that team. Always, it seems like as long as Patrick Mahomes is in there, and you'll probably have value right there. So, honorable mention, Kansas City Chiefs. All right, guys, on to the next thing. So, I'm going to talk to you guys about my biggest bust candidate. Um, so this is someone I think that might disappoint you compared to where you might draft them in your fantasy league draft. So again, that's not saying that these players are bad or that they're not any good. I just think that these are some guys that if for where you might draft them at, I don't they might not meet the expectation of the point value that where you're drafting them at. So um, I got three guys on this list, and again, I kind of went through a few guys, and these are the three that I came up with. So number one, I'm going to go with Joe Burrow. I think he'll be drafted high in some of these leagues, but I think that the kid got elite talent. He's proven he's done what he's needed to do to become a franchise quarterback in the NFL. I think he's got a lot of respect. Um, you know, a great player. Been to a Super Bowl. But so he's got it. He's got it all. Got one of the best receivers in the league. So he'll give you guys a lot of production there. But I just think that the fantasy success depends on the health and offensive consistency. So if he's not in the game, then your value's not there. And I think he's shown that he can, that it's difficult for him to finish seasons out because of health issues. So you got to stay healthy. You got to stay on the field. That's your biggest weapon is your health. So, um, you know, until he can stay on the field consistently, I think that you got to be careful drafting Joe Burrow because you'll probably be drafting him in a position to be your quarterback one, and if your quarterback one is out for fantasy, then that's not good. So be careful with drafting Joe Burrow, even though obviously he is him and he can play ball. My next player is Marvin Harrison Jr. Talent is obviously there for him. I think he was drafted to be a big time player. Hasn't really performed, I think, to the level that a lot of people think he should. But expectations come with a huge price. You got to be able to perform and put up, and when your numbers call, you got to be ready to go. So, can the offense around him support his elite production? We'll see. I think that he's going to need some help from not only the quarterback but from the run game and the supporting cast around him to kind of give him the opportunity to make plays and stay on the field. And coaching staff's going to have to get him ready to go and put him in positions to where he can make plays. But I think you got to be careful drafting him high in your draft. He obviously has the potential to be a great receiver, but we're going to be cautious with him. All right, last we're going to go with Kenneth Walker. um, I've had Kenneth Walker in a few leagues and for multiple years, and an animal beast, and he's put up great numbers for me. But this year, I'm going to be a little bit careful with drafting him too high. I think that the workload is a question for me. Can he handle the workload? Is he still that guy that's able to carry volume and get you those fantasy points that you're looking for? And then he's going to be competing for touches with the new team he's on. So, where he was at before, he was, the guy, and he was getting a lot of the volume. And when you get a lot of volume, you have opportunities to produce a lot of fantasy points. So this year, I'm going to be watching out for Kenneth. I'm going to be a little bit mindful on him. I would love to have him, but drafting him too high, I'm not gonna reach. And if he falls to me, I'll take him, but I'm not gonna look at grabbing him with those early picks. So, um, he could be one of those guys that falls to you at the right spot, but we'll see. I don't know if he's gonna match some fantasy expectations this year. I think so. I will be careful with him. All right, so next segment, guys, we're going to be talking about rookies I'm excited about. Um, So there was a bunch of guys drafted last year. It wasn't a quarterback heavy draft last year for rookies. It was I felt like it was kind of spread out a little bit. But I have four players that I'm looking at that I'll be watching and seeing how they start the season and see, what kind of roles they're going to be playing on their team. I hope to see them in the preseason and get a good sample size of what we got. But again, I talked about it on the last on another episode how the preseason is kind of like watered down now. You're not getting to see these guys, but um, so yeah. So the first guy I'm gonna talk about is Jeremiah Love. Um, he is explosive running back, powerful. Ran very hard when I saw him at Notre Dame. He was one of those guys I was watching early on, and I was like, yo, he's pretty good. I think that he could be. I think that he could translate to the league well, and got drafted high. He'll be competing for some touches where he's at, but he could immediately become a fantasy household name. So I can see that being one of those guys where he's getting highlighted and getting a lot of opportunities. So um, running backs usually can make an instant impact on their teams. They're usually ones that can jump in and really get it going early. So I'll be looking at Jeremiah Love for sure. Next guy is Cornell Tate. I've been talking about him a few times on this episode. He fits the Titans well, man. The storyline, he's coming in with a lot of expectations. He's kind of just got thrown into wide receiver number one because not a whole lot of talent on that team. So he really has no choice but to take over. So he'll be one of those guys I'm looking at, watching and seeing, like, are you able to jump in and have a immediate impact, or are you gonna kind of want to develop or whatnot? I got high hopes for Cornell Tate, and he got big playability, man. I think that him and Cam Ward can kind of get it going and get him some confidence early. He might be one of those guys to watch out for. So I'm excited about seeing him play, and we'll see. Um, One another guy, man, I'm pretty intrigued by is Zachariah Branch, the guy out of Georgia. Um, a real speedy guy. I got to see him play a whole lot at Georgia, and I kind of started to like him a little bit. Like his gameplay, he's shifty and you know uh, can use him in a bunch of different formations and kind of get him in different looks. And um, I'm gonna watch him and see what he does, and I think that he can be put in a position to make a whole lot of plays down there in Atlanta and give you some fantasy value. So um, we'll see how he looks in the preseason. So hopefully I can get to see him play in the preseason and get a good feel for how they're going to use him. So I'll be watching. I'll be watching Branch, man, and I'm excited to see what kind of fantasy value he can bring to a league. And then last, I'm going to talk about Fernando Mendoza. Um, I feel like I got to put a quarterback on this list. You can't have this list without putting a quarterback on here. So number one pick of the draft, man, got to go with him. So young, he's gonna have opportunity to play. So I'm gonna watch his development, man, and see will it translate to the league. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little hesitant on him a little bit. In regard with him winning the Heisman and shredding everybody up in college, I still am hesitant on Fernando Mendoza for whatever reasons. We'll see what he does in the league and see if he can give his team a chance. And it's some talent on that team, so he could bring some fantasy value there. I feel like it might be a little run heavy down there, but he clearly is a playmaker and he can make plays. So I love to see what kind of what kind of NFL quarterback he's gonna be, and how he develops. So I'll keep a close eye on Mendoza and see where he goes. All right, guys. So next topic is going to be the team under the most pressure for 26. So I kind of went through a few teams on this and kind of narrowed it down, but I think I'm stuck on one. I kept coming back to one, and I think I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills for the team that's under the most pressure this year. And you know, the window's wide open, man. I mean, the Bills have had chance after chance every single year. I feel like they get all of this preseason love, all of this hype, and they underperform it, or they perform at an elite level and then get to the playoffs and lose it. So, um, dude, I think it's a Super Bowl or bust, man. And there's a few years that I picked them to win it, and they got a great team. The roster is loaded. When you got one of the best quarterbacks in the league, then you obviously got a shot almost every year. Um, but how long can we keep, saying they're almost there, they're almost there? I think it's time to either, win this thing, or you're gonna have to find a different route. I think that you're putting the same team out there and you're competing, but they made changes here and there, but it's still, a bunch of the core guys that they got. But, um, I think that this is it's a lot of pressure on the Buffalo Bills, man. They get put at the top of the league every single year to win this thing, and I think that that's starting to kind of they're starting to feel that. So Josh Allen, I know, is having a lot of pressure on him. So you know, at what point does another great season without a championship become like a big disappointment? So, we gotta get it done, man. If you're the Buffalo Bills, you gotta get it done. So I think they got the most pressure, man. But that's my opinion. And we'll see what they do this year. All right, so early Super Bowl predictions. Man, I kind of went through some teams too right here. I came back with one that's probably, and this is an early prediction, man. These are everything I talked about today is probably going to change, man. I think nothing I'm saying today is probably going to be my thought process in the middle of the season. So I'll probably change every single thing I talked about today. But so my Super Bowl choice right now, man, and we're not even in the preseason yet. So I'm just giving an early prediction. I'm gonna go with the Philadelphia Eagles, though. I just think they got a complete roster. I think they play a physical style of football. Nothing flashy, nothing fancy. They just, hard nose, get it done. Defense is elite. And I feel like with a great defense and then with a consistent offense, you don't have to have the best offense or even the most explosive offense. Your offense just got to be, hitting. And I think they got enough playmakers on the offensive side to get the job done. So they can win in multiple ways, man. So I'm gonna go with the Eagles right now. And again, that'll probably change by mid-season. So it might even change by the first game. I usually uh, change my mind early. So, but right now, if you're asking me today, I'm going with the Eagles. So, um, and then let's talk about MVP candidate. My prediction for MVP. I'm gonna go with Patrick Mahomes. I think it's the easiest pick. I think he's the safest pick. And I'm not even a Chiefs fan. I'm not a Patrick Mahomes fan. But I gotta appreciate greatness and the kid, and he's great. I'm not gonna sit here and hate on Patrick Mahomes. He's done it time and time again. So, um, I think if I'm looking at the league this year and kind of looking through everything, he probably will be my early prediction to win MVP. He's always in the conversation, man, and the Kansas City Chiefs always finish near the top of the league, so he'll get the attention and end up being in that conversation probably anyway. So um, that's who I'll go with there. Um, but again, guys, so that's it, man. These are my opinions today. And don't worry, I'm gonna keep receipts on all of this. You guys will probably hold me accountable. But that's just how I'm feeling today. And we'll continue to look at the NFL storylines and season, and I know the preseason is coming up real soon, and we'll be able to really dig deep and look into some of these players that's coming out and what kind of roles they're going to play in on their teams. So won't get a huge sample size because preseason is kind of shortened a little bit, but it'll still be fun to watch, man. Football will be on TV, so we all have fun watching that no matter what, right? So, but anyways, guys, that's it for me today. I'm Nick and the sports guy on the mic, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.